Full stop. Welcome everyone to the station. This cabin has lost yet another immunity challenge, and they must attend the station where there will only be room for three of you in the cabin going forward. Sheena, with the last immunity challenge, you got called for mercy time. Talk to me. What was going on in your head?
Obviously, I can't count. Way back when I was a young wee lass, somebody told me if you count one Mississippi, two Mississippi, it's the equivalent of like a second. I still got 77 seconds left, so I would have kept going had it not been for that mercy call. So that was a disaster.
Sergio, for this cabin, this will be the third time that you have attended the station and must vote somebody out. How does that affect the ability to play a long-term game?
Um, well, it helps you a bit because you get some practice in, you can really like learn how to trust the people you're working with. Because every vote, those bonds, like you can make all the alliances you want, but if you don't go to a vote to prove it and you show up at merge like that, like how much does that really hold water? Um, but then the other thing, it can really damage you because like for us, for example, it's gonna shine a spotlight like, oh, then those three must be close because they were going to travel back to back, and they're the ones that came out on top. So yeah, it can damage you heading to emerge.
Taylor, during the Temptations, we saw, lots of different passengers taking lots of different temptations. Do you feel like you gained any insight into the other cabins?
Yeah, I think it was, well, I think everyone kind of, without knowing how you won that challenge, I think people went about it in different ways, and it was hard to know how people were going about it. Um, I think we saw, if we're assuming that some people were taking temptations because, they needed them, I think it potentially showed us who's on the bottom of other tribes, and who needed those items. So that was pretty helpful. But I think it's also important to take it with a grain of salt because we don't know people's approach to that challenge as well.
Sheena, the last two stations that this cabin attended, it was a unanimous vote. Does that make it harder to decide who goes here, being that all four of you have voted the same twice already?
I don't know if it's difficult. Yeah, it definitely does. Because obviously in a numbers game, you wonder, or I wonder, especially being kind of like the lone gal out, not from the original tribe, if those tribal lines are going to come together this round and potentially um vote that way. So it's definitely like nerve-wracking in that regard.
Sergio, is a four-person cabin harder to navigate than, say, an eight-person cabin? What are the pros and cons?
Yeah, I mean for sure. There's less room to hide. Um, everyone's fact checking everyone. There's people are talking to each other, so you don't have a lot of wiggle room when the numbers go down. Especially like you said, when we were all voting the same anyway, so everyone has a good relationship that's left. Um, so yeah, it just gets trickier when there's only four people left.
Taylor, should we anticipate this being some sort of crazy vote? Could it be, split? Could we, see a unanimous vote? Or is this vote continuing to be part of a plan?
Um, yeah, I think having four people is a really tricky number, I think, especially when merge is so close and it's hard to know where you stand because we all get along pretty well. So I think I'm not really sure what to expect tonight. I hope that, the people I said I was going to vote with are voting with me tonight. But yeah, we might see a few different names. I'm not quite sure. I think everyone's kind of in survival mode at this moment. But yeah, hopefully alliances move forward and people who said they were going to work together will work together.
All right. Well, it's time to find out who in fact is working together and who is going to get left at the station. So, but before I do, does anybody have anything else they need to say? Well, alrighty then. All right. It is time to vote. I'm going to go off camera and mute myself. While I am away, all game talk ceases, and you are no longer allowed to talk about this vote or the game. You may feel free to talk about anything else, though. All right. I have the votes inside of this book of murder mystery. Once the votes are read, the decision is final. The passenger with the most votes will have failed to get on board and must be left at this station. If anybody has a hidden immunity idol or other relevant advantage that they would like to play right now is the time to do so. All right. I will read the votes. First vote, Sergio. Caleb. 1 vote Sergio, 1 vote Caleb. Sergio. 2 votes Sergio, 1 vote Caleb. 1 vote left. The 5th passenger who has failed to get on board and must get off at this next station. Sergio, you may now speak your piece.
It's been fun, guys. Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
We love you.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Sergio. We appreciate you playing this game. All right. Well, the train must go on as it is about to leave the station, and a new adventure awaits you. So return to your cabin, fasten your seatbelts, and hold on tight, because you never know what is around the corner. All aboard!
Choo choo.